everybody. How's it going? Oh, hello. Hi. My name is Annalisa. I am the Director of Artistic Partnerships and Innovation here at Baltimore Center Stage. I use she, her pronouns. I want to take a moment to say hello and welcome to y'all. For how many of y'all is this your first time here at Baltimore Center Stage? A few hands, a few hands. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. For the rest of you who've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. We're so glad you're here with us. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment on behalf of Baltimore Center Stage to offer a brief land acknowledgement. Baltimore Center Stage acknowledges that the land that we are standing on and these waterways that we owe our life and vitality to is located on the ancestral and occupied lands of the Piscataway peoples. These lands have also been cared for by the Susquehannock, the Lumbee, and many indigenous nations who are still here today. We take a moment to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and future. And before we begin, I'd like to hand the mic to my friend, Mr. Rico, for a special welcome and blessing. Mr. Rico is a Piscataway elder, and we are very honored to have him here with us tonight.
Need to have a guardrail on this thing, make sure I get up here. I'm a little disappointed. I was watching my butterflies leave. Now they're back. But anyway, words that come first. It's always traditional that we introduce ourselves, and I'll do so in my language, and unless somebody's here that speaks Algonquin, you won't understand a word I'm saying. Willie Wilaku. Nikoi Hose and Wenge, Chaptikon, O Piscatawe, Comigo Yakio, Kanahari. Basically, I'm introducing myself, my name, my clan, my tribe, and hope that I'm welcome here in this space. I've been asked to say a few words, basically, I guess what you would call a prayer. There's no word in my language for prayer, so I don't know how to interpret that. But we call it good words, words that come first. And in a gathering such as we have here, I can almost, and I'm not a gambler, but I would almost bet that there is more than one way that people acknowledge that power greater than themselves by whatever name. I would bet that, and I think I would be correct. So with that said, what I would ask is to make sure that this event goes the way it should, that it goes in a good way, that you say some good words in your way to see that that takes place. I'm going to do so, and again, I'm going to do it in my language, so bear with me, but whatever your way is, if you stand, sit, lay down, run out the door, whatever makes you happy, however you practice your, should I say, religion, please, along with me. Kishalamokon, Wilashta, Ni Pitalo Galgun, Aki Angawu, Akita Shuki, Aki Angawu Yawu, Ayawashe, Kishilamakon, Wanishi, Uhuna Yunka Angabu Wanishi, Luwana Shin Angawanishi, Uhun Ayunka Gawanishi, Oapuna Yunka Angabu Wanishi, Kishilamakon, Matinamani Wanishi Pasi. Aho. Thank you. Y'all can get up off your knees now. No, nobody knelt down. Okay, all right. Nobody went out the door either, so I guess we're all right. Anyway, just to let you know what my prayer is when you greet like this, one of the things in the prayer is hoping that everyone stays well. No one has any untoward things to happen. Nobody catch an instant case of COVID. 39. I think we're up to 39 now. And of course that you all, the speakers, the entertainers, whoever comes up here, drink plenty of water, stay hydrated. because bad things can happen when you get dehydrated. Trust me, I know. I passed out at my niece's wedding, and I was doing a traditional ceremony. I hadn't had any beverages all day, nervous. You'd have thought I was getting married. Mm. And of course, we asked that the winds stay in this room, circulate the air around. Not so much for air conditioning, but to keep those mind creatures moving away from us. And I'm sure you think about it, you've been visited by those mind creatures. But we hope that that prayer will send them out the door. They won't interfere with what you're thinking. If people have good words when they come up here, if they're entertained and they're doing well, that you be okay with it. And of course, the last thing, our grandfather, the son, I don't see him out there now, but he's out there, trust me. And trust that he'll always be out there. And we, in my prayer, I bring that into play so that the light stays in our path, so that we see what's in front of us. Because there are a lot of pitfalls out there waiting for you not to pay attention, and it will trip you up. So that's the basic of the prayer that I did, and some will say, okay, what I did was address the four directions: the south, the west, the north, and the east. And that's true, but there are three other directions: the one that's straight up, the earth that's below us, and we are dead center. Right here, Hakianishka, on the Earth Mother. And I could be up here all day talking about Earth Mother, but I won't. Maybe. And it's strange because coming up here, I drive up from, I'm right next to the University of Maryland down in College Park. And always when I'm coming up on that concrete super highway of civilization we call 95, somebody is always winds up messed up because they're in a hurry. But anyway, on this land that we're on, and I must thank our hostess for acknowledging this land, and I'm glad she included my Susquehanna brothers and sisters, because we have arguments about, no, it's mine, it's yours, no, it's mine. But neither of us are collecting any rent. And I keep saying, you know, if people want to acknowledge this is our land, and I'm a retired real estate broker, hey, where's the rent? We got some back rent to collect. But anyway, we look for Baltimore and other places to keep doing what you're doing, and I love what's going on here today. And I'm wishing you all much of the best. And if you hadn't heard, the United Nations just made a announcement. Folks, we're in trouble. The temperature of this planet has gone up something like point something centigrade. That's not good news. You would think maybe it's a little, what does that matter, point something centigrade? If you know anybody in California, ask them about it. You know anybody up north, today is what? The first day of spring. They're still getting the middle of winter. Things are changing, and it's not going to stop. But anyway, I'm going to sign off now and say, Aho. Thank you, and I wish everyone a good and great day, and enjoy what comes after. Okay? All right. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Rico. Okay, y'all. So this evening is a very special Baltimore Butterfly Session. I hope you all have already checked out the potluck and the tables. There's a seed giveaway. There's elderberry syrup demonstrations. There's puppet making. And normally our Baltimore Butterfly Sessions all stays up here, but tonight is a very special one. We are expanding the Baltimore Butterfly Session format this evening in partnership with Native American Lifelines and with Backyard Basecamp. Yes, give it up for them. Thank you. We're so honored. The Butterfly Sessions is a civic dialogue series where we use art to catalyze conversation, and we will have a moment during tonight's show where we'll encourage you to share your thoughts with each other. So if you haven't met the people that are sitting around you yet, I just want to give a moment for you to introduce yourselves right now. Amazing. Thank y'all. Okay, cool. So the theme for this Spring Equinox night is the future of the Chesapeake. You all may or may not know that this is Baltimore Center Stage's 60th anniversary season, and we've been using our Baltimore Butterfly Session series throughout the year to think about the next 60 years of Baltimore and beyond. Again, I'm so honored and delighted that we are in partnership with Native American Lifelines and Backyard Basecamp, and when I think of the people and organizations that are already doing the work of stewarding the land and the waterways of Baltimore for a regenerative future, it is especially these two organizations. And what a gift we have tonight to be in community here together. Tonight you'll hear a keynote by Tara Maudrie, and she will also facilitate discussion around community food priorities with help from Atiya Wells and Jordan Bethea from Backyard Basecamp. Yeah. You'll hear readings of cultural and historical texts, specially curated for tonight. Don't worry, folks have already volunteered. You'll hear music from Baltimore's own Eze Jackson and a special puppetry feature called Where the Water Goes by Nino McQuown and Cecilia Cackley of Wits End Puppets. Yeah, we are in for quite a treat, and so with no further, I'm going to turn it over to Eze to get us started with some music.
Check, 1, 2. Let's go. Make some noise for Annalisa and the whole staff at center stage. You can turn that up. You can bring that up.
Get out of your rut.
Try to start off on a high note.
You're just sitting there. Like an asshole. Come on.
We don't want your sympathy. We're despising all the free lunch. I can't love what you pretend to be when your entity is worth much. Oh, baby, now it ain't time to be scared. Time to be grinding and time to be weird. Shining, they shining you out, shining glare. They glisten, you crystalline mountain fresh air. Baby, is it really what you think it is? You think maybe we should think again? Rest in peace, Nelson Mandela. Forgive the youngins for they bandanas. Shots fired and South Dodge Straits where humble rumbles and take you from humble and spewing hate. Is it good sense with you? With your hood fit for you? Is it bands all you could do? This how we use this one right here. Kipling with that nasty bow in my cup. Got no time to try and be in line with fools who got the slightest clue of what's up. Originality seem to be rare. Creative couples is looking so bare. Fighting your idols, don't honor your idols. I feel your foundation is fraudulent frail. Got my beat on all the time. You and that's fine. Whoever you claim to be at that time, I ain't really got time to waste on that bullshit. In the era where they see the unplugged and MacBook. Yeah, and that light flash and that fast hook. Yeah, and then things just ain't the same. You've been programmed into a game. You listen to daily same thing. You do the same thing. You do the same thing. Is your good sense with you? Is your hood fit for you? All right, center stage. Let's get some energy in there.
Hey there, old owl. I'm lost and alone. No head to hold high, but my feet keep on going. Yeah. Spread those wings wide. Take me along. Now show me the sky. Tell me I'm home. Yeah.
Is it really what you think it is? You think maybe we should think again? Rest in peace, Nelson Mandela. Forgive the youngest for their bandanas.
Jackson. Can we get enough? No, we can't. And we will have more of Eze Jackson later tonight. Okay, don't worry, we're gonna hear more from Eze later, but first, I wanna keep grounding in art making. So I'm gonna invite Nino and Cecilia to come on up for a puppetry feature. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about them while they're getting the cranky set up. Nino McQuown is an artist, writer, researcher, performer, and podcaster. They write and make art about dirt, death, apocalypse, and pop culture. They host the podcast Queers at the End of the World, where queer and trans artists, scientists, activists, and scholars reimagine the apocalypses and utopias, old and new. Cecilia Cackley is a puppeteer and playwright based in Washington, D.C. She is the co-creator of the shows Cabinets of Kismet, Saudade, and Malevolent Creatures with Wits and Puppets. Her bilingual children's plays have been a part of the Kennedy Center's New Visions, New Voices Festival and presented by Gala Hispanic Theater. And they will be sharing a cranky this evening called Where the Water Goes, and I believe that Nino may say a little bit more about that. So that was perfect timing. Take it away.
That's better, yeah?
Yep.
Just to
Okay.
give you all a little bit of context. So
That's good.
this cranky is coming out of the confluence of a couple of stories. One, a fairy story, and another one, a true story. I suppose it depends on how you feel about fairies. But while Britain was creating its colonization playbook and displacing people across the world, it was also doing that within the island of Great Britain also. And so the story that this cranky comes out of is a story of displacement around the Fenlands, which is a swamp ecosystem that used to cover something like 6% of Britain, so quite a lot of the island. And also the story of a particular fairy within British folklore, which you'll hear a bunch about in the cranky itself. So a little bit of context about the background of this piece. All right.
All right.
Once upon a time.
It was a time like this one. There were still wild places left.
Maybe it was tomorrow or 200 years ago. It doesn't matter who was king.
This isn't the one where I marry a prince. It doesn't even matter who I am. This isn't the one where a very good girl answers 3 questions right and gets rich. It's the one where a girl gets old, like anybody, and everything around her has changed.
It's the one about everything around her. About my home, which was not a forest with leaves made of silver and gold, but a green swamp, a fenland, the biggest in England.
It stretched for hundreds of miles, was what they call trackless waste, because corn wouldn't grow in our wet soil, and the moss was too soft for a wagon wheel to pass.
But the moss keeps track of everything. For 40 feet under us, time's stacked backwards, layer by layer, and nothing rots.
There's bodies buried down there, beneath intact there for 10,000 years. Sometimes they dig one out, face marked with its last feeling in a silly cap. Things happened here, and they are still happening, all of them, down in the moss. Barley is still blooming in ancient fields, boats still paddling the creeks, Iron Age axes still sunk into the bodies of trees that are still falling through time and down through the mud.
We'd drag them out into the disintegrating sun while digging peat for our fires. And this is how we lived. We walked on stilts instead of roads, ate fish, birds, and eels, and were eaten in turn by mosquitoes and flies.
Listen to it. It was loud here then.
The fen was not an easy place for men. Not easy as it is for mold, mosquitoes, or the moss. And queer things haunted in the night, boggarts, dead hands, swamp lights that lured you to drowning in dead water.
Black dogs that signaled your death. Most of them seemed to hate us, as if they knew what we would do. Only one of the fairies could stand us, and that only sometimes.
His name was Tiddy Munn.
He was our intercessor with the water and all creatures here. Not just the boggarts and the swamp lights, also dragonflies, bitterns, and pitcher plants.
He lived down in the layers in the water holes, face to face with the fish, so the moss through the seep of his skin, and the birds through his voice, like the call of a peewit. He looked something like one of us, but small as a toddler, and lurching and limping. Face folded into matted hair or not quite hair, like roots, like the clotted white roots of mushrooms underground.
Not that I ever saw him, but my mother told us that's what we would see if we ever slipped down into the water pits like a word lost on the tongue. Down there, he'd watch us turn to nutriment for conjure eels and bacteria. Or he might make the fen rise up to meet us, swamp the house and garden, leave our sheep shivering in a low swamp tide, clouds of larvae wriggling on the kitchen floor.
Not because he hated us, but because he also loved the flies.
Then we'd call on him, and we'd do it like this. Take a bowl of clean water out to one of his deep pools and pour it in, say, "Tiddy Mun, the water's high."
Like that, like a cough in a quiet room, just to get his attention. And if he looked up, if he noticed us, we'd hear his bird voice, somewhere as if he was laughing or crying like a body just born into the new cold world.
And then
you'd go back home and mop, wait for the world to change again, and it did.
Imagine this, a stranger church rising on what passed for high ground around here. Windmills turning the air to move their pumps in the moss below, dragging the water up out of the ground in its unthinkable quantity, pumping it up and out into drainage ditches, which was called improvement by some men who said they owned the fens.
And they wanted to own farms and roads, not trackless wastes where no corn would grow. So they brought strangers to dig and drain, who we called the delvers for the ditches they made. Imagine this, their shovels tearing through dried moss, unearthing the things buried deep in those layers. Old things that told stories the fens had known millennia, which when they touched the light and air would crumble into dust, become available nutrition, something corn could use.
To the delvers, the fen was not a deep book of our history. It was a job, a blank slate, and they made it their own.
So Tiddy Munn tried to kill them all. He took them off by ones and twos. We'd find them face down in water holes. Black dogs might meet them on their way, or windmills went mysteriously alight and turned as they burned like bright chrysanthemums in the night. He did try, but more delvers came behind the dead. The windmills went back up, and the water holes drained, and most went dry. With nowhere to drown, how could the delvers die?
The birds and eels we ate died off instead, or fled. Our cattle sickened, so the milk was bad, and soon our babies quieted and stilled in their mother's arms. It seemed Tiddy Munn had grown angry at us too, at every human, delver or fenman, fisherman, farmer, landlord.
There were no chosen people here, just everyone ill and hungry, so we grew to want the corn and jobs they'd promised us. Some of us went to dig ditches, and some tried burning the delvers out. With the wet gone, the land caught, and plumes of smoke rose from the fields, but they only planted corn in the ashes.
And for every one of us they buried, 1,000 green stalks rose to replace him. The delvers dug, and the delvers drained, and the fens flowed away from us finally, all that painful splendor tamed and fixed deep in the dry earth, where buildings bloomed and climbed and filled and emptied over time.
And I went walking, out past the low green fields, and out beyond all those field plants pumping away like 10 million little windmills, drinking up the anonymous soil, transforming it brown to green to gold, like a girl in a story in a locked room with a spindle. Someone's happy ever after, but not mine and not my neighbor's.
I walked out, past all that, into the last wet patches, found a place where the water still ran deep, brought a milk jug with me, full of clean water from their new deep well, and called on Tiddymun.
I'd never seen him.
But I missed him now.
I poured my water out into the pool and said, Tiddymun,
we wish it was not so. Perhaps he did not hear me.
Maybe he was dead, dried out with the conger eels and newts.
I waited.
I stood a while by the pool with my vessel all empty and tried to remember how it sounded, the millions of birds.
It was dusk.
All around us, the ground released our ghosts in a mist that soothed the throat to breathe it, and the ghosts of the birds cried out.
And the gone eels and fish thrashed their gone bodies in the mild, dry air. And the dim light of the swamp light called me towards some far death. And I knew
that the flood would come again.
Not now.
But it would come.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thank y'all. Wow, oh my God, every time I see that, it's so amazing. Who's the illustrator again? Can you write?
Laura Stinson.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to Laura Stinson in Nova Scotia for the amazing illustration. Wow. I'm also reflecting on what Mr. Rico said earlier about, he just happened to bring up the thing about climate change and just the threads that are already weaving their way through the content tonight. I'm just really grateful for everybody being here. And now is the moment, my friends, when I'm going to ask our volunteer readers to come on up and offer some readings. So yes, come on up now. Great, great, great. This constellation of 3 texts is meant to plant some more seeds of thought leading up to tonight's discussion. All 3 of these come from powerful leaders and invite us to ponder our connection to the lands and waters beneath our feet.
Hello, my name is Jamie Grace Alexander. I'm happy to be here. And I will be reading an excerpt from Farming While Black by Leah Penniman, the founding co-director of Soul Fire Farm. We have yet to find an exception to the harvest festival tradition among our African ancestors. To give thanks for the harvest in community with family and friends is an integral part of farming while black. Some common elements that you can draw upon in convening your own harvest festival include gathering extended family, waging peace, making prayers and offerings to the land, renewing yourself spiritually, and enjoying the fruits of your labor with joy. Of course, there is no reaping without sowing. It is equally important to ritually mark the beginning of the farming season with a festival. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alexander Velasco Suro, and I will be reading an excerpt from Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants by botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer. People often ask me what one thing I would recommend to restore relationship between land and people. My answer is almost always, plant a garden. It's good for the health of the earth, and it's good for the health of the people. A garden is a nursery for nurturing connection, the soil for cultivation of practical reverence, and its power goes far beyond the garden gate. Once you develop a relationship with a little path of earth, it becomes a seed itself. Something essential happens in a vegetable garden. It's a place where if you can't say, "I love you," out loud, you can say it in seeds, and the land will reciprocate in beans. Thank you.
Unlike my counterparts, I have to whip out the glasses, or else I don't know what I'll be reading to you. Hello, my name is Marcia, and I will be reading an excerpt from Lakota Woman, a memoir by Mary Crow Dog, a Siskangwu Lakota writer and activist. I was too small to know about racism then. When I was in 3rd grade, some relative took me to Pine Ridge, and I went into a store. It was not very big, a small country grocery. One of my teachers was inside. I went right to the vegetable and fruit bins where I saw oranges just like the one I always got on Christmas. I sure wanted one of them. I picked the biggest one. An uncle had given me a nickel to go on a wild spree, and I wanted to use it paying for an orange. The store owner told me, "A nickel ain't enough for one of them large sun-kissed navel oranges. Put it back." I still remember that. Next to me, the Wasishu teacher saw me do it, and she made a face saying out loud so that everyone in the store could hear it, "Why can't those dirty Indians keep their hands off this food? How disgusting." It made a big impression on me, even though I could not understand the full meaning of this incident.
Thank y'all. Yeah, one more round of applause for our volunteer readers who were part of the audience and they volunteered to read during the event. Thank y'all so much for that. I am going to invite my friend Eze back up for our second song tonight. And if you happen to have a hand drum and you wanted to use it while Eze's playing, you're welcome to do that. If you have one of these water fan puppets, just want to offer you can use that during Eze's song. And Eze, come on up.
Check 1, 2. This song is called Be Great. I don't know if we actually have hand drummers, but it's a slow one. No drums in the original. So, I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. Even if it means you gotta leave me. And you don't wanna be babe, look baby, I'm straight. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. And homie, if it seems you never see me, no, I'm working, I'm great, I'm trying to get straight. I just want you to be great. As the sunlight rises to meet us, another day rises to greet us. People, places, and things that tried to delete us, couldn't beat us, couldn't be us, now we see us. I am not the twinkle on the brand new brightling. I am the light shining when the night gets frightening. The truth and shock value, get your life on right swing, and I ain't no saint. I left Jesus at the pulpit, found God himself, decided not to forfeit. From life done right, done wrong, apologize. Done things that made it so hard to smile inside. I know you're going through it, trust me, I know. We all coming from a memory, it's helping you grow. Get your back up, head high, shoulder square. Keep squares out your circle love until it overbears hate. Only you can get yourself into a better place. I want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. Even if it means you gotta leave me. And you don't wanna be bae, look baby, I'm straight. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. And homie, if it's seen, you never see me. No, I'm working, I'm great, I'm trying to get straight. Yeah. I just want you to be great. And I can see in your eyes you wanna quit. But remember the winters you made it through just to have the summer lit. You take the bitter with the sweet and you make a meal. The energy you need to continue and seal a deal. Synergy revealed is bigger than what you feel when the pressure gets real. No, that pressure can't kill. The passion, desire, the drive. The will is focused running through the fire and survive. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Go in and meditate. The drama ain't necessary. Just go in and levitate. Get your back up. Head high, shoulder square. Get them squares out your circle love until it overbears hate. Only you can get yourself into a better place. I want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. Even if it means you gotta leave me. And you don't wanna be bae, look baby, I'm straight. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. And homie, if it's seen, you never see me. No, I'm working, I'm great, I'm trying to get straight. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. Anybody that's doubting yourself, I just want you to be great. That's doubting the people around you. We gotta encourage each other to be great. Even if it means you gotta leave great first. And I hope that y'all can take something from that and enjoy the rest of the show. I'll be back for one more. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great. I just want you to be great.
Amazing. Okay, y'all. We are at the point of community discussion. I'm going to invite Tara Maudrie on up, and Tara's going to be lent a helping hand by Atiya Wells and Jordan Bethea. Yeah, shout out to them. They're so amazing. Tara Maudrie is an enrolled member of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians and a member of the Baltimore, Detroit, and Minneapolis urban Native communities. Maudrie received her MSPH from the Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health and is continuing her studies as a PhD student in the Social and Behavioral Interventions Program. Tara is passionate about food justice, food sovereignty, indigenous research methodologies, and urban native health. And Atiya and Jordan are joining us from Backyard Basecamp. Yes, which is a nonprofit with the mission to reconnect Black, Indigenous, and people of color to land and nature. With Bliss Meadows, their 10-acre land reclamation project, which y'all should check out, they provide various environmental programs and activities for families in Northeast Baltimore City. And these wonderful folks are gonna lead us in a community discussion about food priorities. And I think I'm gonna hand this off to y'all. There's another microphone here.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Oh, I'm starting. Hey guys, clearly we didn't practice. Again, my name is Atiya. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you all being here. One thing that we wanted to start you all off with is a question. And Tara brought this lovely post that her aunt made to me. And one of the questions is, in today's changing of the seasons, what seeds are you carrying into that new season? And that brought up a story for me when I went to a conference in New York, and I was speaking with some folks from the First Nations, and his questions at that time were, what are your seeds? What are your stories? Know them so that you don't have to steal mine. And that led me onto a discussion, or not a discussion, I really started interviewing my family members, because I realized in that moment I knew more about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X than I did my own grandfather. And so I started reaching out to family members and really interviewing them, and got a really deep and rich history of all of the people who I may have never met, who've made the choice to thrive and survive so that I can be here today. And it is such a grounding exercise, and I wish that you all get a chance to call up your people and ask them where they came from and what they did. And then I'll pass it to you, I guess.
We want to let people answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to ask we're going to toss it out to the audience. So, what seeds are you carrying into this season? Seeds of greatness. Was that you, Marguerite? Youdabomb.com. Appreciate you. Anybody else have anything they want to say? It can be material or, oh, go ahead.
Forgiveness.
Yes.
And also tomatoes.
Tomatoes. Yeah.
Authentic self-love.
Yes. Okay, y'all deep. Is there anyone else who is feeling called to share?
So I'm just trying to be a better father, and so that's the seed I'm trying to plant.
Thank you for sharing that, Dan. Okay, all right, y'all. I'm not a therapist for real, so.
You just made me think my Hunka mom was Pawnee, and a museum gave her some seeds that were found in a cache, and she was a boarding school survivor and thought this mom had such hope for future generations. She wanted to leave these seeds for them, so I'm going to carry hope.
I love that. There is a story in the book Farming While Black where Leah talks about African women, and when they were being stolen from Africa, they would braid seeds into their hair to bring over into this new world. And so that is similar to stories of us, of carrying hope into our next generation and our futures.
I'm definitely and consistently and constantly planting the seeds of imagination, because I definitely feel like your art practice is probably one of the most important and revolutionary impacts you can make in your community if you're someone who knows that imagination can really alter the way that we engage with one another and engage with who we are as individuals. And yeah, I feel like imagination is like so deeply powerful and kind of oddly underrated.
Yeah, I can feel that. When it comes to art, one of the things, like when I was younger, something that turned me off from art is that I can't draw to save my life. And when art was introduced to me in elementary school, it was all about like drawing and coloring inside the lines, which is not my forte. So I was like, this sucks, I'm never gonna be an artist. But as I grew up and like started thinking more about art and expanding the definition of what art is, like art is making clothes, art is singing, art is dancing, and we all have different forms of art, so we all carry different forms of art with us, and I too agree that we should just share them with the world, whatever those may be.
I just want to say a few words about Spring Equinox today, and then I'm going to talk to you a tiny bit about some of the research I've done with Native American Lifelines, and then we're going to go back to talking to you all because I think you guys have a lot more wise things to say than I do today. So I want to just share some words from my auntie, Shiloh Maples, who is a food sovereignty activist. And this morning she wrote, "Since time immemorial, our ancestors gazed upon the stars and so accurately calculated these solar events. Today, like those who came before us and those who will come after us, we wish to recognize this sacred place and time where we experience the universal balance of day and night, and to acknowledge a transition from winter to spring and to celebrate renewal and growth." So 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I started a research project with Native American Lifelines to better understand the effects of food insecurity on this community and to understand how this community wanted to address food issues. This project took place during COVID-19, and as I think you all imagine, there were a lot of hardships and setbacks, but we got her done. And we're incredibly grateful to the participants that took our survey and those that shared their stories with us through interviews. Through this project, we learned that more than a quarter of this community experiences trouble accessing adequate healthy foods, and that people described both short and long-term effects of experiencing food insecurity. Some people described feeling incredibly troubled, anxious, and depressed about having enough food, and some described behaviors that we would consider to be those of an eating disorder. While these results are incredibly concerning, community members also shared with us their hopes and dreams for the food future of their community. And a quote from Braiding Sweetgrass, which we mentioned earlier, I think is a really important one for that sentiment. Robin writes, "Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift." While the results of our research pointed to some hardships that our community is facing, they also pointed to the resilience and strength of this community. During this project, participants shared that they really wanted to share meals again, especially during COVID as a community. They wanted to host more conversations around nutrition and food, and to support partnership with other organizations like Backyard Basecamp. And I think tonight is a really beautiful example of all three of those suggestions. Over the last few years, I've been incredibly grateful to witness the strength and resilience and the kinship that this community fosters. And today I'm grateful to share and joy with you all today as we celebrate Spring Equinox. The Spring Equinox in our communities is a time of new beginnings, birth, and opportunities. For Ojibwe communities, including my own, this is the time of year we gather for sugar bush or maple tapping, to tell stories and to pray for the seeds, plants, and animals that will sustain us for the coming seasons. It's also a really important time that we reflect on our hopes, visions, and goals for the future, and that's why I'm really grateful to be here with you all today to celebrate the arrival of spring and to share in discussion with you all. So I'm going to pass it back to Atiya and Jordan, and we are going to talk to you all, which is why we're all here. Nobody wants to hear me talk. So.
What was your first question?
So our first question is, what foods are important to you all?
Yeah. Oh, that's Jordan's bit.
Yeah. I didn't want to steal your thunder, guys. I was trying to give it back to you.
My name is Jordan Bethea. I'm the production manager for Bliss Meadows at Backyard Basecamp. I'm responsible for our food cultivation, our market garden, our honeybees, chickens, sheep, goats, and I'm supported by our amazing farm manager, Sage Dillard, who couldn't join us tonight. For me personally, when I first started this work, I immediately gravitated right to root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, gourds, squashes, everything that really establishes a meal and is going to fill a belly and what's going to sustain a family. That was very important to me. When I looked at the farming culture, and mostly in urban environments, I saw that just about everybody under the sun was stuck on lettuces and kale, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing stuff. It's very healthy for juicing, salad sautés, but when I think about food resilience and resilience at all, I think about what it's going to take to sustain the body for trying times like this COVID pandemic that we've barely gotten ourselves out of. And when I think about it, the lettuce greens aren't really going to be at the top of the list for me. It's really what's going to maintain the body's full health. So lots of carbohydrates, stomach filling, and stick to your rib. Vegetables are really what was important to me the most. And of course, anytime, if anyone has any questions, feel free to jump in. This is a Q&A. There should be some interplay. So if anything comes up or is stricken by anybody, just shout it on out. Oh, and of course, same question. What foods are important to you good folks?
I would say the foods that are important to me are the three sisters, corns, beans, and squash.
I'm Cherokee Nation and Seminole Nation from Oklahoma, and one of our big foods is wild onions. So back home, every weekend there's wild onion dinners.
I was just thinking about fiddleheads. I love going into the cool forest and just spying them, peeking their little heads out.
Getting a fresh, ripe tomato that was grown under the sun in like a home garden really tastes like the sun to me, and it really embodies summer.
At this question of foods that other people have taught you to make, or foods that have a memory or emotion associated with them. And I'm curious, what foods have people passed on to you that you hope to pass on to other people someday?
I grew up eating ramen noodles when they were like a quarter a pack, right? And when I moved away from home and I went to college, I graduated to hamburger helper. But it was fancy, like pinky up fancy hamburger helper, because I would chop up onions and peppers in it. And y'all couldn't tell me nothing, okay? I was a chef. And my daughter has recently got into eating ramen. And like she's been experimenting with her recipes of like what she wants to add in it. She's adding like chicken and sausage, and she's 10, by the way. And so something that I'm interested in passing down is that like experimentation with food, like even though it may be unhealthy and it may come from a package, you can still repurpose it and add in some freshness and make it something better.
I come from a family of farmers on my dad's side, and in the middle of DC, he has created a farm for himself almost, different plants, and he's done it since I was a kid. Me, I kill plants. And then I always thought about doing a garden, but was intimidated. So this year I'm actually going to try. Pray for those plants. But I heard something that said that, every good gardener has killed plants. And that kind of inspired me to like, okay, I'm going to try this. And I actually got little buds growing. I killed the first set of buds, but this morning I saw I had 2 other. I was like, look at me, I'm big time. But for my daughter, I just want to pass on that you're never too old to try.
So I've really discovered recently a passion for cooking. I work in the food industry. And the thing I want to pass down is I want to eventually make cooking more accessible. I want to make teaching cooking more accessible.
One of the best compliments I ever got from one of my children when he was about 25, he said, "Hey, Mom." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I never knew how weird growing up with you was." And I'm like, "Thank you." And I said, "Well, can you tell me more? What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, I thought all moms went outside and picked weeds for dinner." And it really blew me away that our culture has come so far in just a few generations.
That actually leads me into another question that I'd like to ask. First, an observation, then a question. Observation is that it seems like most of the people in this room are intimately aware of their foodways, their food histories, and how it shaped both their family and their, currently active culture. I'm wondering what we think is going to need to happen to engage the many tens of thousands of other people in the city and the millions in this nation that aren't connected to it. With my work, of course, I'm a grower, but I don't want to grow food all willy-nilly. I don't want to grow food just because I want to grow it. I want it to have cultural relevance. I want it to have meaning and value for the people that I'm feeding, that I'm serving, specifically in our Frankfurt community and, of course, to the greater Baltimore community. However, I've come to realize that most people about my age and younger are not interested in this anthropological study of what it means to be connected to food and to remember the foods of our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, people whom within maybe the past 100 years lived and had meaningful impact in our own lives that we don't have direct access to because, of course, they've passed on. So the challenge isn't just feeding people, it's about feeding people food that's meaningful to them so that they can continue on their mutual histories and making those histories real. The question for me becomes, how do we engage people in a way that gets them not only to tell us what their parents have been eating, what their grandparents are eating, what they grew up eating, but how do we get them to love it just as much as their forebears, their recent forebears did? So, yeah, that's my question. What is it going to take to get people to fall back in love with the history that we all have direct connection to?
Okay, so you mentioned anthropology, and I'm an anthropologist.
Outstanding.
So when I started in my role at Native American Lifelines, I was working with youth, and we would feed them. And most of these children are from the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina and have a deep agricultural history. And when we were talking with them about foodways, we realized that they had no idea where their food came from. So we started a little container garden, and where I'm going with this and the connectedness is we started that project around the time of the uprising in Baltimore. And we couldn't get to our office, and the kids' parents were texting me and sending me Facebook messages saying like, "Yo, this kid is wearing me out, worried about their plants." They were worried about whether their plants would be okay.
We have a summer camp on our property for that very same reason. We don't just want to educate adults that have lost their collective memory of food growing. We want to make sure that the youth have direct access to land, play spaces, our 7.5-acre forest, and of course our market gardens. They can see food being grown. They can be in the forest patch interacting with native wildlife, although we don't really want them approaching foxes or being noticed by foxes. We want them to see the foxes, the deer, the owls that are out there. So yes, it's just as important to make sure that we educate ourselves and build value for ourselves, but it's just as important to make sure that young people, especially young children that are so impressionable, they can learn about this and love it at a young age and then carry that love for nature with them through the rest of their lives.
Thank you all so much for sharing this conversation. My face is gonna hurt from smiling. I love talking about food, so this is like literally like my dream. So thank you all so much for being here and for the other artists and everybody that made this event possible. I really especially want to thank Center Stage for their help with planning this. And of course, Native Lifelines and Backyard Basecamp for their kinship and for all of your support and coming here tonight and sharing food. Miigwech, thank you all. And then I think I'm
Thank you.
Amazing. Wow, y'all, what a night, what a night. And we have one more song to close us out. Easy, I'm going to invite y'all back up here, and then thank y'all so much for coming tonight.
Yeah. All right, this last song, I picked 2 songs tonight that I was hoping there would be like a drum circle thing happening. Yeah. So, just so y'all know, if you haven't heard my music before, I do have drums in a lot of songs. But this song, the first song I did, Be Great, starts an album I put out called Fool. And this song I'm about to do closes the album out. It's called Thank You. The first verse is thanking friends. Second verse is thanking lovers. Third verse is thanking my brother who is now an ancestor. And but in total, I want to dedicate this to all y'all for taking time coming out tonight to say thank you. And thank you to Center Stage. Make some noise for Center Stage one time. Let's go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for a good time.
You can turn it up.
Oh, thank you for a good time.
You know how hard chasing dreams with kids and stresses. How many times I had a beer for breakfast. How many times I couldn't make it out of bed. So a homie call you up and want to take you out instead. Riding around through the city, he be laughing at shit. First when he play my music, he be blasting that shit. Looking at life and looking at love and wondering whether it's worth it to trade financial stability. But living my purpose, it's more than verses and cold bars, shows on old bars, IG flicks at the venue, effects and posing with stars. My people who know me know, sometimes easy just need to go in open places, no shows and be in the matrix blazing, sitting on something, the system bumping a new band. Be all I need to need inspiration for new plans. I want to thank you, my friends. Tomorrow I promise might not have a chance to thank you again, so I thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for a good time. Oh, thank you for a good time.
So many women in my life that was special. Sometimes I'm virgin when because it's disconnection. I let you know who I was. Maybe I did. Maybe you kinda thought he was who he isn't, regardless. I think about the nights he set me free. Just let me be, whether it was sexual or intellectually. I did the best I could, or maybe you saw the worst, but I had to record this verse before they threw me in the hearse to say, thank you for choosing the brother to spend your time with. Wine hits, fine spliffs. We all prepared each other for our future lovers. I love seeing y'all growing, giving your kids, sisters, and brothers, cause this life is what we make it right. It's where we take it right. We take the flight, and if I'm wrong, I try to make it right. Thank y'all, don't feel no way, we had some really good nights. Baby, look, we had some really good nights. And I thank you,
thank you, thank you, thank you for a good time.
Was a soldier from the start. Hard to replace a man with that kind of heart. I tried to teach him what I learned as I learned it when Pops deserted us. We never wanted our babies to be as hurt as us. Silly as hell, land serious as a heart attack. We ride around for hours talking about the art of rap. Dreams and plans you'll never see in the physical. Shit is something that happened, and that's what makes it so critical. I give up anything to hear you on the upper line. Spitting your toughest lines, rapping at your toughest lines. Rare talent and rare healing, no say true. But I wouldn't trade you for the world, little brother. Thank you. Thank you.
Of a line, toughest rhymes, toughest lines.
Thank you.
No say true. Lord brother, I thank you.
Once again, thank y'all for coming out. My name is Eze Jackson.
Thank you for a good time.
Okay, and I will say one final thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. We're so grateful to all of tonight's featured artists and readers. We hope you all had a wonderful time, and we look forward to seeing you again at the next Baltimore Butterfly Session on May 1st. In the meantime, please check out our website for shows and events happening here at BCS. Tiny Beautiful Things is running upstairs in our 4th floor theater until April 2nd. It's a really sweet play about not taking the small things in life for granted. So please do check out our website for all the details about everything. And thank you one more time. Have a good night, everybody.